Hello everyone, this is Ross from retrodreambeam. I'm an eBay seller full-time. I've been doing this with my fiance Netta for more than 3 years now. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I'm about to go into what we are shipping out today on Tuesday. A lot of good stuff. I also had some good sales that came in when I was coming back from the storage unit, but that will be for tomorrow. Those were also crazier sales. All right, the first thing here is going to be 2 of these dice. I got a bunch of dice. These are jade dice, so like a green color with gold pips. These are just 2d6, nothing too crazy. I think these are Chessex. Are they Chessex? No, they don't really have the brand. They say made in Germany. But yeah, people care about what size the dice are. I think these are 16 millimeter. They care about the color, which is the outside, and the pips, like the indents there. Let's say if you're playing like a role-playing game and you're playing like a druid, so you want some greens or golds or whatever. That's why people care about different dice colors, and people collect dice. I have a small little collection, nothing too crazy like I used to have. This sold for $7.70 plus shipping. Everything's going to be plus shipping. All right, next up is going to be some Dark Elder Warhammer 40k bits and pieces. I just got a bunch of bits and pieces. People use these to kit bash. The person had sent me a message that one of their like gun weapons broke off, and they saw that there was something in here that they could replace it with. They asked me to paint it before shipping it out, and I let them know like, no, I'm not going to paint it. That's not part of like the listing. Painting is a whole different thing. It takes a lot of time. And honestly, I didn't even know like what weapon bit that they wanted from here, because I haven't played Warhammer, so they were assuming because I was selling bits and pieces that I knew it. So I said like, no, do you want me to cancel the order? Or do you still want it? They were still excited to have it. They said they'll figure it out. But yeah, there's a lot of people who are afraid to paint, or they don't think they're good enough, or they're just like, yeah, they just don't start. I used to be like that until I started painting some miniatures for Kingdom Death Monster, the board game. Those were my first miniatures I painted. Then occasionally a board game I'll paint a bunch. Like I did Descent Journeys in the Dark 2nd edition. I showed some of them way back, like maybe 6 months ago at this point. But yeah, these bits and pieces sold for $13.64. I'm pretty bad at painting, but you can learn to do like a pretty decent job compared to someone that like never paints and never practices. All right, I take a long time. That's why I just don't do it. I don't have much time, or else like I like it, I just don't have a lot of time. Moving along, someone got this combo order of these Dungeons and Dragons. These I think were like promotional materials when you would go to like a shop during the time like when the different books would be released. I believe that's what these little like cards are. I got a bunch of these. These are campaign cards. These are from the Zendrix expeditions, and there's like, it says set 3, and then it will say like what cards they are. So there's 3 in that batch. And then there's more of these. These are Living Greyhawk, says that right here. And then like what set they're from. Only time I've ever got these, like it's official Dungeons and Dragons, this is by Wizards of the Coast. These end up going for $10.88. I got a ton of these, and I kind of like separated them, by the set on the bottom there. So I never got them ever again past that point, and they'll slowly sell. All right, moving along, we got this military jet plane. I couldn't even identify it. It has one of its standee bases right here. The previous owner, magnetized it, so it goes like the magnet goes on top of the little base, so it shows that it's like flying in midair, and they could take it off. I don't know if this is used in a board game or if this was just like a miniature that was painted as like an okay paint job. This ended up going for $9.09 for just a little miniature, unidentified basically. I'll still list stuff unidentified because I know someone's eventually going to just like the product, and maybe enough keywords will get enough eyeballs on it. All right. Moving along, we have Death Zone. This is going to be 98% complete. So when I was listing it, there's probably only a couple pieces missing. This is going to be for, I believe, the Blood Bowl game. Unless if it's its own game itself, but this is probably some kind of expansion, I'm assuming. I haven't played this one. But yeah, there's like an indent here. This one's still like a pretty cool vintage one. It's still collectible, Games Workshop. So they have a lot of different like board games, old stuff, new stuff, like huge IP. There's just a ton of products. This ended up going for $47.24. So yeah, no miniatures are in this box. Right here, it just shows like all the stuff that you get, like a bunch of different cards and booklets. Like I said, I don't know if this is a different game than Blood Bowl, or if this is like an extra to Blood Bowl. It's one of those two. I haven't played either, so I apologize if I'm misspeaking on that. All right, moving along, we have Armies in Plastic. That's just, I believe, the brand. We had like this little art cannon squad, so it's like 5 miniatures and then a cannon here, and then there was like an extra little like ammo box and then extra cannon. I had a big bag of a bunch of these sets. I believe these would come in little box sets back in the day. So I have a big bag of them. So when this one sold, I counted up a bunch of like the same amount of pieces. I kept the same picture. I made sure that like, there was no damage on either of the listings. The first one, which is this, which I sold, and then this new stuff I grabbed and put. I have baggies at the storage unit prepared to do stuff like this, so I also relabeled it. But yeah, this sold for $15. This is going international. And then I also had a new listing at the storage unit. Lost my train of thought. All right, moving along, we have this John Deere tractor toy. This one's missing like the little hitch part right there, but got a bunch of these a long time ago. This was like someone's like personal sale that they did. Really cool personal sale. That was like a really unique experience. Sometimes you go to, I'm not going to go into like a lot of the details just to, keep people's like personal information to themselves. But it was just sometimes, yeah, you'll have a sale and you'll talk to the person, you'll buy a bunch of stuff for like 2, 3, 4 hours, and you just kind of have like a good time. You're kind of just passing by someone. You're not exchanging contact information. It's not like you're gonna become friends or something, but you still have like a cool, unique interaction with people that are selling stuff and you're buying stuff. You talk about eBay, you just talk about life. So I remember this was a really special sale where we got this stuff from. So $12.59. That was like 3 years ago. And then I still talk about like that sale. It's just like a fun experience, and it's an in passing experience, if that makes sense. All right, moving along, we have this, not you have we sold this. This is going to be Marvel United. These are just location cards. I got a bunch of Marvel United stuff. It's a game I cold miniatures or not. I haven't played it. I'm not into the chibi stuff, so they kind of do the superheroes with the big head, chibi style, small figures, big head. It's a co-op game. I know a lot of people like it because like they're still making stuff, but these are just location cards for the Maximum Carnage expansion right here. It's like 6 of them, so this is what you use for the game for the locations. $5.24. I remember when I was listing those, I didn't know if someone would want to buy just the locations. I almost thought of putting them all together, but I was like, God, that's a lot of locations from different expansions. So I separated it by expansion, and they have been slowly selling. So I normally don't question myself when I'm listing that one. I was just curious. I wasn't for sure if people would buy it. Moving along, one of the best card games, Android Netrunner. It's run by fans right now, so not by the people Fantasy Flight Games anymore. Black Orchestra. This is going to be alt art promo cards. This is going to be a set of 3. I think I have more. I do have more. These are going to be, what are they called? Like programs. They have memories up here. You're going to have so much memory. You're playing as a hacker, as the runner, which is the red back. Someone's going to play the corporation, which has the blue backs. They have these like ice things that block their agendas and stuff. And both players are trying to find agendas. After you finish one game, you yourself bring out, if you're the runner, you bring out your corporation deck. If you're playing the corporation, you get to bring out your runner deck, and then you play that game. And whoever has the most total points between those 2 games wins. Really unique card game. I played it for like a year or so when it came out. I think it lasted like probably like 4 or 5 years until eventually they lost the rights. Richard Garfield, who did Magic the Gathering, was helping them at some point, but I think at some point their contract ran up, and now fans just make stuff for the game. $21 for these 3 alternate art promos. People like the different art for the cards. People pay up for a lot of card games, different arts. That's like a big deal. Depending on how rare it is to get those were participation prizes in events that you had to go to shops to get. So they are relatively rare. Moving along, we have Advanced Squad Leader. This is going to be 3rd edition, which it says up over here. This is just the rulebook. I get a bunch of these rulebook, Advanced Squad Leader bits and pieces. It's like a miniature tactical game. This is like all the different terrain and hexes. You play different battle scenarios. You will get a scenario sheet that lets you know when reinforcements come, the extra rules in the map, what of those boards that you see me sell, which ones you have to use in what orientation. People love this particular game. I've never played it, but $11.19. I did see people say that if you try to play every scenario or whatever in the whole game, you won't have enough time in like real life to play it. There's that much stuff out there, and the game is that in depth with strategy where it takes that much time per game and stuff like that. All right, moving along, bunch of these Dungeons and Dragons miniature cards. This is Against the Giants. This is a pack of 15. So I got a bunch of these Dungeons and Dragons miniature cards way before recording, or else it would have been a really cool video. I like pre-think about, if we were recording on YouTube at that time, we could have showed this like cool collection haul. It was all these cards. I had to organize them by set. Dungeons and Dragons miniature game is not around anymore, but you play on gridded maps, and then you would get these booster packs. They were kind of like rectangle blocks, different sizes, and then all the miniatures had different rarities. You can use the miniatures for Dungeons and Dragons for just collecting. So it's kind of this product that kind of like branched across different formats, but it was a game itself, and they would also come with these cards. These cards also have stats of the monsters and the characters, as well as the stats and the powers and abilities for the game. These are just the cards. If I had the miniatures, they would go for a lot more. $7.87. When you guys see me sell the cards and stuff, those are the scraps. Originally, I would have like lots of like 60 to 80. They were selling for like 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 bucks. So like this is just like the scrapping. This is only like a lot of 15, not like 80 or 100 of them. I still have a lot more to sell. All right, moving along. Aneta accidentally packed it, so it's already in like a big bag. But we got this cool. It's like, let me see if I can. Let's see if this works. Let's see if nothing's. Here we go. Can this work? Yeah. We got this Aritzia bag right here. I don't know if you can see this one. It's probably screen on screen is not going to be good enough. But yeah, it's cool little like Christmas deer with some toys. It's just a shopping bag for like an expensive clothing store or some kind of department store. And I think it's from Chicago, maybe. I'm not too sure. That one sold for $11. So just a cool bag. We like to list and sell baggies. It's been a while since we've gotten some. Sold away more once again before we were filming on YouTube. So it's a kind of like a cool category. We collect a bunch of reusable bags ourselves, usually from like conventions or just cool ones. I picked up a Zany Brainy bag from my parents when I was going through their attic. My mom was showing me some stuff, and I'm like, I don't want the stuff. I want like the baggie. Good memories for like that kind of stuff. All right, moving along. That was a ramble, sidetrack. It's okay. We have this Dark Age of Camelot official strategy guidebook for one of the PC games, I believe. I haven't actually played this one, but I know people like to get the strategy guide books. They want to complete their computer games or their video game collections. I like to read the Diablo 2 strategy guide book. I have a bunch of them. Anytime I find them for $2 or less, I buy them. Whenever I'm at like thrift stores, sales, anywhere, I'll grab the Blizzard strategy guide books just because I personally enjoy them. So I know other people like them as well. This is going international for $10.49, which is about what I get for the strategy guide books. All right. Next up is going to be a loot crate. This is Black Tie Geek. So I forget what particular, probably like, probably a podcast or something like that. This is going to be a tie. It's a red one. It's not a black tie. And there's a dragon symbol and like a D20 dice here. So like a nerdy little bow tie that you can wear. This ended up going for $5.90. Loot crate stuff is kind of like all over the price for pricing. Most of the stuff is not worth too much. And then occasionally there's like, a rare one or something that a lot of people want. And then they pay up for it. All right. Moving along, vintage Tango set. I like this still, even though I get a lot of the modern board games. I know people like to do old puzzle games. They like Monopoly. They like all the classics, the basics. Back to basics gaming is what I kind of consider this kind of stuff. I try to find the ones that are vintage and good enough, good quality, because there's a lot of these things or games or puzzle stuff. They eventually get a lot of remakes, and then, the pieces become worse quality, become paper. They go from wood all the way to paper to like shredded like junk. So like I look for like the older ones. I know people still enjoy them. Tangos is just a classic puzzle solving game. You get your little card and you have to figure out how to make the image with the pieces you have. It's a lot of fun. I played this as a kid. $10.49. Not that particular version, but I just know people like this kind of stuff. All right, next up, this game. This is one of my favorite classic games. Speaking of classic games, so this is Stratego. This is just a set of player pieces. This is from the 1970s Stratego. You can tell by like the art on it and the size of the piece. I really love this game. They even have a collectible Stratego where you actually buy booster packs and get rarities for the different factions. But in this particular game, this is a strategy game, a tactic game. You set up, I think it's your 40 pieces on your side of the board, and your opponent does the same, and you have a flag, and the goal is to move your piece over the flag. You win the game when you move over your opponent's flag. That's like the checkmate or whatever in this game. And then there you have a bunch of bombs as traps. So if someone walks over them, they lose their piece. And then there's different numbers. I think it's 2 through, I want to say 9. But then there's some like weird rules where like number 2 can actually disarm the bomb. So there's and then I think like number 5 can get past 9. It's been a while since I played, even though I like the game. It's literally been like probably over 10 years since I played Stratego. It's a fun. I don't have anyone to play with, and that is not like into like the tactic strategy game, like 2-player, chess checker, Stratego. So I'm not going to try to force her to play something she doesn't want. $13.86 for the pieces like this. She likes the theme story. She's okay with strategy. She likes deck building. So like think Dominion, DC deck builder, like the mechanic where you start with the base deck and then you purchase cards from a marketplace and your deck gets bigger and better. She actually likes that mechanic, which I was surprised as we were going through a bunch of board games that she liked that mechanic. I didn't think she would. All right. Next up is going to be Hollywood by the Sea, Florida, like a Florida pamphlet here. Get a bunch of this stuff. I love this category, the ephemera, the paper ephemera. I know people collect it. This is also kind of like an easier thing to find out in the wild because a lot of people disrespect this kind of stuff. And not in like a mean way, but like, they'll see a stack of papers and they'll be moving along and they're looking at the sealed action figure that everyone knows is worth $50. But you can find like this kind of stuff. And then the people usually hosting like estate sales and stuff usually don't value this stuff at like a crazy price unless if they have the knowledge and they know which ones are rare and stuff. I'm not a big into like knowing which ones are rare. I know there's certain things you want to look for, like restaurant menus, old vintage like retail store. Like if I found a Toys R Us catalog or something, I would probably keep an eye out for that stuff because I know that that's not around as much anymore. So people like that category. $4.59, and people collect this stuff. They like to go through it. They like to read it. They like to see, like, 1979. What was Florida, talking about at the time? What was there to visit at the time? Next up is going to be, excuse me, came out of nowhere. Whoa, and I almost dropped that. The Lost 11. This is going to be a World War II military book. This is a hardcover. Got a bunch of military books. They've still been selling pretty well. A lot of people have been picking up books for us. It's one of our top 5 categories. It was for 2025. I just waited for the year end to see it official. I think it was our number 2 slot. 2024, 2023, it was also in our top 5. I don't remember exactly where the ranking for us, but like people still like the books. I got a lot of the books we sold, I got in one go. It was like 30 or 40 boxes full of books for like $200 or something. Really, really cheap. The person didn't even want them. They were like trying to like donate them or whatever, or like throw them out if they couldn't find someone to get them. And so I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. That's cheap enough for me to give it a go. And it's been really good. All right. Next up is going to be a map from a board game. And I don't know if it's over here. It's going to be nearby somewhere. Yeah, I think it's not directly in my arm's reach. There was this board game. I think it was like NATO. NATO, the Next War in Europe. It was one, I don't know if it was by the Bookcase brand, so some of the details are lost on me because I listed a while ago. I had bits and pieces to this game, and then someone was trying to buy just the map for international shipping. The box obviously adds weight and dimension for shipping overseas, so they asked nicely if they could get just the map. I usually don't tear apart a listing because then I have to make 2 new listings. I have to do the new one with the minus the parts that are being purchased, and then I have to make the one for the parts to make sure I cover my back. I don't want to like say like, oh yeah, I'll just send you the map, but then on eBay's end they see that I do the listing with everything. You have to sell what your listing is, if that makes sense. Messages I don't think is gonna help your case there. So I like to separate it, and I only do it if it's worth like the time and money. If someone wants me to separate a map and they want me to do it $5 free shipping, that's not happening. I'm not going to lose money separating listing. But the person said that they would pay almost the same price for the map. So I was like, you know what, I can do that. So I did that. The map is somewhere around here. I was waiting for them to pay, so that was going to be part of yesterday's video. But they paid as I was sleeping. Different countries, so we're going to have different time zones, which makes sense. $16.09 for that. My original listing was like $24 or $22 after a sale price for the rest of the bits and pieces. Incomplete game overall, but they just wanted the map. All right. Next up is Damage Angela Marvel card. Oh, Image Comics card. It says like Wizard in the corner. It's kind of like a see-through. I don't know if you can see it. I don't know if my light is working in the better or for the worse for you guys. I wrote damaged. I don't actually know what's damaged about this particular one. It actually looks pretty good. And when I was there, I couldn't notice what damage I was talking about. So I typed in the name Angela in my listings to make sure I didn't have another card. I don't. So I guess they're just going to, I don't know, either I'm just being really blind right now or they're going to be happy that it's not damaged. Maybe I also copy the listing. Sometimes I'll do sell similar when I'm like listing a bunch of like, the same type. And I make a lot of mistakes when that happens. So almost all my listings, I know to start fresh because that's my weakness is when I do sell similar, I'll mess up. And recently, like I sold some World of Warcraft trading card decks. I sold a Warlock one yesterday. In my title, it was sleeved because when I was going through that collection, a couple of those decks were sleeved. But because I did sell similar and forgot to remove the name sleeved, as I was selling these decks off the camera, I would have to actually sleeve them up. I have a ton of sleeves, so not a big deal. But I was like, oh, I made a mistake by just doing sell similar and not double checking. So I do most of my listings fresh. All right. Next up is going to be this. This is going to be some kind of crafting boat kit. X-Craft mini sub. Like I told you, finding things like ships or fighter jets or tanks. People love that kind of stuff. It's like a little diorama that someone has to make. A very simple one here. There's like this submarine that's like actually above the water. So, and then there's like a little person here, and then you get like your little diorama base that you're going to paint up. But yeah, this ended up going for $18.90. It's, what's this? For Linden Productions. I have no idea what that is. From made in Belgium. All right, that's pretty cool. All right. It's probably why they picked it up, and the shipping price is probably why it took longer to sell because it is big. Next up, I got a lot of like board game containers or just like containers, household containers. I always label them as board game containers They're kind of hard to picture because they're clear. So it's a bunch of these circular ones. So someone doesn't have to use this for board games. I just find them in board game collections and then I list them as containers for board games. So I know people are thinking about not using baggies. Baggies in board game boxes are good for storing and putting them away, but for taking them out and distributing them when you're playing an actual board game, baggies are the worst. They're like, you're just like, always like reaching your hand in, you're like fiddling around. If there's two different types of piece, it's a pain where like, imagine all of your pieces, like coins in one, power tokens in another, egg tokens in another, currency in another, swords pieces in another. Like you can take these out, you pop it open, everyone can reach into a container. So people like to container their board games. Sorry, that was a long ramble. That is why I list these as board game containers. Only $5 for these. This is just like essentially a throw-in for like board games and stuff. Like I get collections, you get stuff like that, and the stuff that's like clean and still good to resell. I keep a lot of the containers I get from other people's board game collections, so I'm just like passing it along, the storage. All right, and I still have a bunch in the other room to list. Yeah, I have a ton of different types of containers and storage to list. I have like a pile of like 50 plus that I just stored up from collections. Maybe a video on that would be interesting. No promises, probably not. I don't know if that'd be interesting. All right, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Hope everyone's having a good week so far.